Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Hours 36 in Guyana. Welcome to your main newscast for today on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. In your news today, the PPPC government plans to embark on a number of measures that will keep the oil industry on the fast track for a minimum of 15 years, so said Vice President Bawar Jagdeo. The official said such an approach would include the timely award of production licenses as well as encouraging investment in the sector. Given the pace at which discoveries are being made in the Stabroek Block and the overall speed of development activities, Jagdeo said it is critical that the government adopts a complementary approach to ensure local and foreign businesses are not left with stranded investments. Speaking to the mindset that led to the creation of the soon-to-be amended local content legislation, Jagdeo said it was the administration's intention to not engage in wholesale copying of best practices from other nations. And against the background of a recent statement issued by the U.S. Embassy alerting its citizens about threats to their business interests here, Kaieteur News publisher Glenn Lal has questioned the motive of the advisory and surmised that it could be as a result of the growing dissatisfaction of Guyanese over the wholesale thievery of this country's resources by foreigners. He said too that while the embassy has expressed concerns about its people, it remains silent on the disadvantages being meted out to Guyana over the lopsided ExxonMobil contract. In a statement published on its website last week, the U.S. Embassy said it is urging U.S. citizens to be on high alert as it has received threats against U.S. interest. While the embassy did not specify what those threats were in the statement, it urged all its citizens to stay alert and exercise heightened caution. Vice President Bawar Jagdeo last Thursday said that the threat against U.S. interest is a serious matter and that it is getting all of the government's attention. Meanwhile, an audit report that was recently quoted extensively by Stabroek News regarding $1.6 billion in expenses racked up by ExxonMobil's subsidiary, Esso, from 1999 to 2017 is not a final document. This is according to Commissioner General of the Guyana Revenue Authority, Godfrey Stacia. In a statement to the media last evening, Stacia said the report that was leaked and reported on is filled with financial inaccuracies and, moreover, deficient in a number of other areas. And moving on. Coming from Reuters, a group of Australian Indigenous people has lodged human rights grievances with 12 Australian and international banks, urging them to withdraw a $1 billion loan to Santos Limited for its Barossa offshore gas project. Environmental and Indigenous groups have been campaigning for years against the $3.6 billion project off Northern Australia. And a top court order in December asked Santos to consult Indigenous people on the Tiwi Islands about the project's environmental plan. 6 Tiwi Islands traditional owners and 1 Larakia traditional owner filed human rights grievances with 12 Australian and international banks with the assistance of Equity Generation Lawyers, a law firm active in climate-related cases, the group said in a statement to the media. And the Director of Public Prosecution, Shalimar Alihak, has recommended that the Ogle East Coast Demerara daycare owner be charged with manslaughter for the death of 7-month-old Oriah Gravesend. The daycare owner is slated to appear at the Sparendam Magistrates Court today. Baby Oriah died after falling off a bed at a daycare and suffocating. She was pronounced dead at the Georgetown Public Hospital on March 21st. Police on Tuesday arrested a 21-year-old businessman, meanwhile, after he was found with a loaded, unlicensed gun in his pants crotch. The bust was made at the police roadblock set up at Triumph, East Coast Demerara. The businessman, who hails from South Turkine, was reportedly a passenger in a heavily tinted Toyota Rumion motorcar that was stopped by police. Rank searched each occupant in the car when the cops found the 40 Glock pistol loaded with 4 matching rounds in the man's crotch. He was immediately arrested and taken into custody at the Betavawakting police station. And coming from AP, Donald Trump conspired to illegally influence the 2016 election through a series of hush money payments designed to stifle claims that could be harmful to his candidacy. Prosecutors said Tuesday in unsealing a historic 34-count felony indictment against the former president. The payments, said Assistant District Attorney Christopher Conroy, were part of an unlawful plan to identify and suppress negative information that could have undermined his campaign for president. Trump, stone-faced and silent as he entered and exited the Manhattan courtroom, said not guilty in a firm voice, while facing a judge who warned him to refrain from rhetoric that could inflame or cause civil unrest. The next court date is December 4th, though it is not clear if he will be required to appear. The broad contours of the case have long been known, but indictment contains new details about a scheme that prosecutors say involved payoffs to 2 women, including a porn star, who said they had extramarital sexual encounters with him years earlier, as well as to a Trump Tower doorman who claimed to have a story about a child he alleged the former president had out of wedlock. And moving on, GCOM, by way of a majority vote at a statutory meeting held on Tuesday, appointed former Information Technology Manager Anil Giddings as the Deputy Chief Elections Officer. The Commission's decision to appoint Giddings has, however, been met with objections from opposition-nominated Commissioner Vincent Alexander. Alexander is once again accusing GCOM of failing to follow the required criteria for the appointment of the Deputy Elections Officer. In a letter to the editor, Alexander claimed that GCOM has for the 3rd time skipped the mandatory protocol to appoint Giddings, a PPP preferred candidate, to the position of DCEO. And that does it for your news at noon. But before we go, we must be a little blunt by turning the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7. ExxonMobil's $7.3 billion audit report. This audit report was due at the end of September of 2022. Yet, no report. The PPP government then committed to December. No report. It is now April 2023, and of course, yes, you guessed it, no report. The PPP government's tune now is sometime or the other. What do we have here? A government for Guyanese interests, or a PPP government bending over for Exxon's interests? And that does it for your news at noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226